All right, I will do just that. We are at the top of the hour. Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday to yet another show. This is our 31st episode of What Keeps You Up at Night, Entrepreneurship During Challenging Times. Wow, 31 shows. We're 31% way there to 100, if my math is correct on that one, and I think it is. And we're going to make it to 100 and beyond because we keep having fun here and we keep learning something every single time. We're inspired. Hopefully everybody out there is attendees, both on Zoom and also on Facebook, and then watching afterwards on YouTube. Hopefully you're inspired also from the stories that we bring you every single week. 3 of them with my co-hosts that I have with myself, who I'll introduce in just a moment, because I will share the screen. Oh, I think I forgot to mention, if you don't know this space already, my name is Colin Weston, and I am the community leader for Startup Vancouver, which is one of over 40 chapters of Startup Canada across the country. And Startup Canada is the voice of the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs that we have in Canada. And we are here, just as our sign says, to connect you as entrepreneurs, as a volunteer-based group of entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs. So to connect you to each other, to the resources, to mentors, to other events, including our own, both locally, regionally, and nationally across the country here. And what we do here with What Keeps You Up at Night is just one small thing that we like to do to give back, to inspire you and connect you to everything entrepreneurial and innovative that goes on. So I am going to quickly share my screen here. Reza, I don't know if you're timing me. Last week, I think I set a personal best here on making that happen. Let's see if I could manage somehow to
focus, Colin. Focus.
Simulate that. Oh, you got me. I was actually rambling, so I was buying time. But you've done this 30 times. You saw right through me.
There you go.
I cannot fool you. There we go.
I have your screen.
Woo! All right. See, I give that one a C+. That wasn't the worst. It definitely wasn't the best here. So to open the show here today with our 3 amazing guests that we have today. So Mark Huvenaars, who I've had a chance to talk to a couple of weeks ago, and after I heard his story, I was like, Mark, come on, you got to come on the show. He made the time to make that happen. And also with Asadi here out of Toronto, my hometown. We're going to be chatting to him and then also Casey Lau, who I actually met. Believe it or not, Casey and I met in real life for a coffee last week, trying to keep those 6 feet apart from each other. I think we did a good job socially distancing there, Casey. So going to have a chance to talk to him also. But as we get started, see here, I'm mixing it up here with the graphics here. We have a little segment we call, How You Hanging In There? So today we're asking just that. We're going to be asking all of our guests how they are hanging in there during these COVID times, which we are definitely not through at all. Things are, of course, ramping back up. Of course, Emmy in Toronto there. Things in Ontario aren't going great. Not that we're getting smug here in British Columbia, but things are on the rise again. So we just want to make sure that everybody's staying safe and, wear a mask, wash your hands, do all those things that you're supposed to be doing. And let's get through this together. It sounds like such a cliche now, but it is so true. And we just want to make sure that, once again on this show, that yes, we are inspirational and educational, but also we like to have a little bit of fun here and have some levity here to keep things a little bit lighter. So again, in that segment that we have here and how you hanging in there, we hope you're doing a little better than the old school cartoon with the coyote here, who never seemed to get it right there. He obviously wasn't a very good entrepreneur, so he always tried doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And we'll be hearing from our guests today of how they are doing different things to get better results in all of their endeavors. So if you're not aware of what we do with Startup Vancouver, the best way to connect with us, we are very, very active on social media. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, also with our LinkedIn community page there, where you'll hear about all of our events and also the events that we support, as I mentioned. And we've also created our YouTube channel, which is starting to get a little bit of traction, and all of our recordings from our shows here, including the one that we have today, we do post afterwards there. So if you really enjoyed this show and the conversations we have, we've got 30 other ones that you can go back and be even more inspired. this is new. I'm going to put this out there. I've had so many people reach out to me. It's like, I want to volunteer. I want to get involved. And just as we always say during pitch competitions with what you do, you always need to have an ask. And our ask today is if you're someone that wants to volunteer and help out and be part of something bigger than yourselves and community build with Startup Vancouver, our website is looking kind of sad. It's just kind of been sitting there dormant for the last year. You can even see the last post we had was from February 27th, pre-COVID actually, for one of our in-venue events there. So we need to rebuild our website. If you're a full stack designer, or if you're into on the visual side and the UX side, and also like to keep updating content, we need you, or we need a small team to help do that. So reach out to us here and help us rebuild our website, please. We're in desperate need, and we need that piece to have as our hub. So, Startup Vancouver, who are we? What do we do? Our mission was really twofold. The first one is that we collaborate rather than compete. And we do this over the last 3 years with all of the other events that we've partnered and co-presented with. And now we present, of course, our own events, while we still do what we always do, and that is across the country, collaborate on other events and promote those also. And the other piece we do is part of this diversity and inclusion piece, that we make entrepreneurship welcoming and inviting for everyone. So no matter gender, age, sexual orientation, new Canadians, or you've been here all your life, tech and non-tech, we are here to support you. And the way we walk that walk is through what originally we called for the first year with 12 of these, which was Van Startup Stories. And now we've amplified that to a national audience with Can Startup Stories, where we speak to or celebrate and showcase a different, either underrepresented or a specific sector in entrepreneurship. And tomorrow we are celebrating clean tech entrepreneurs. So this is a free event to attend. These are extremely impactful, more of a TEDx style event where the entrepreneurs are telling their story. So it's not a pitch competition, and these really, really resonate. So if you have the opportunity to join us at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, I will put the registration link down in the chat afterwards. So of course, we love making this event, this show interactive. So you're joining us today either on Facebook or also on Zoom. Make sure you put some questions and comments there, and we'll ask them after we finish up with our interview with our guest today. We do have a charity partner, which is jack.org, and they are the Canadian voice and advocate for mental health awareness for youth. And we feel really honored to actually be part of their organization now. We've managed to raise over $600 so far through the 30 shows that we've done. And unfortunately, we don't have any donations today, so I won't be doing my little shout out at the end, but there still is 45, 50 minutes left. If someone wants to make a donation, you will get a chance to hear me sing, if that's something you can really tolerate. So now I want to introduce, of course, my good friends and co-host Maryam Mobini, who's the CEO of To Resonate, and Reza V, who is the CEO and founder of OVU. And we have 3 amazing guests today. I'm just going to quickly go through them. So of course with Casey, he's done many, many things in the entrepreneurship space, but we're going to focus today on what he does with Rise, and also now with Founder Institute, now that he's back in Vancouver. In the middle here, we're going to have Maryam speak with Mark and all the great things he's doing with Orca Box. And to open up with Amy, we're going to have him speak with Reza. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen, turn it over to Reza, and we're going to hear their fantastic conversation here to learn more about what the great things in the entrepreneurship space that Amy has been doing. All
awesome.
right, Reza, take it away.
Thank you, Colin. Another Tuesday, we're here with you with another show. Amy, thank you for being with us. I like Amy's story very much because it resonates with a lot of us who either immigrated to Canada and wanted to start a business, or had some previous experiences and want to bring that with us here. So Amy here, you're famous for your background. Tell us a little bit about what you've done in Iran before coming to Canada, because you had a startup that was, I'm not gonna spoil it, but it was very successful and had the kind of traction that almost all of us here are dreaming to have on our platforms. and then you came here and you started other stuff. Tell us about it all.
First of all, thank you for having me here. And yeah, in Iran, I was a co-founder and CEO of Navaar. Navaar, it was an audio streaming platform providing spoken word entertainment, mainly in audiobooks, podcasts, audio series, audio dramas. And we ended up providing B2B services, audio streaming B2B services, APIs to mid-sized companies. And yeah, that was a classic startup story of product people coming, trying to address a problem. And the problem was that book readership habits in Middle East, there's a lot of room to improve on. And the first impression was that governments, they are not interested. We don't have good publishing houses, all of the usual stuff that people talk about when there's a big problem. But when we actually got through them, we figure out that there's like millions of dollars that governments are really spending to address this problem, but somehow it doesn't work. And publishing houses, they actually want to really have this good market actually going on for them, but they cannot do that also, and nobody knows why. And we were kind of crazy enough to just ask this question, that really why? We have bestseller books, and there's a lot of infrastructural problem. There's censorship going on, subsidies going on. But at the end of the day, you have people buying these books like in millions of, in million copies. And at the end of the day, why is not actually really working? Then after tons of mistakes, like in the first 2 years, we figured out that there is no clear channel from customers actually talking to publishing houses for them to realize what kind of books actually really addresses a need for book readers.
Now, Ami, you got to 2 million active users at some point, and you got, I want to put this out because this is important. You got 2 million active users. You got investors, same investors that invested in Spotify, investing in you guys, even though Iran was in an uncertain area of the world and situation. So you had all the success a startup founder is looking for. When you came to Canada, how did you deal with that? Like did you I know you started another company. Tell us a little bit about your experience of bringing all that with you.
But you just bring you. At the end of the day, it's just nothing. It's just you, and you know that you made a lot of mistakes there. You learn from them, and you try to just not making those mistakes. There is such a thing as second-time founder syndrome that you usually have. You're biased on your decisions many times, and you need to adapt yourself as a kind of a product. So you have two products. Yourself, you need to have, you're like a product market fit to the Canadian market and society, and at the same time you're building another product. So in Navaar we found out that B2B businesses actually is our mainly customer segment. We went from 100,000 active users to 1.6 million users just in about a year or so. So 3 co-founders went to 100 employees, all of that catching up with the demand and all that. And being in that speed coming to Canada, it was really tough because the first thing that actually really hits is your confidence, because you could pitch, you could talk to people, you could make team, you could leverage your network in order to do amazing things. You don't have all those, and you need to really start from scratch in some kind of a way, but you have your skill set that kind of helps. So that is the first thing that I tell to some of the startups that I'm kind of helping, is that, yeah, as an immigrant, this is the first year for you. So try not to ignore it. It's going to be hard wherever you go, because you're not going to be as confident as you were. And there's a huge learning curve here to understand. Then you realize there are actually common traits going on. It's just investors are investors. They are looking after their ROIs. Yeah. And co-founders are co-founders. They want to solve a problem. You have visionaries. You have competent people they want to help you. Then you get more confident. Then you can get people on board for your next mission. And
Tell us about your experience, because you started a Canadian startup. Also, you started a startup here, and you had a learning curve throughout that, and you had to adapt. Tell us what did you learn? What was the stuff that, it doesn't change, and whether you did it overseas in Iran or here, it doesn't matter. It's the essence of entrepreneurship, and the stuff that you actually had to learn, and it was the biases that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's that's like in Canada, I started B2C startup. I was the audio streaming audiobook guy, and like a little bit of network that I had, they kind of referred to me that, yeah, we want to have this premium quality audiobooks and podcasts, where we should go. Like Audible doesn't have them, or audiobooks.com, they don't have them. So there was a problem, right? And I could do something about it. And one of the skills that I kind of one of the things that I learned throughout entrepreneurial journey is that if you really trying to solve a problem, at the end of the day, there are people that actually care about it. So I went to work with the most amazing people that I can have as my co-founders. I have Oldest, that he's now he had infogram.com, and he exited from that company like $2-digit million number. And I have Frank, that is like the most amazing like person for the technical stuff. So I just told them the problem. This is the problem. There are like communities in North America. They like to have this premium content and the stories and all that, because the second generations, because of all of that.
You're talking about Farsi content, right? The Persian communities, or beyond that?
It's just beyond that. The problem is much bigger. At first, it started from the Persian community, but then we realized this is exactly the same for the Vietnamese community, for Arabic community. So these are the languages that they are not center of attention for a spoken word entertainment industry, and we can do something about it. And it was a passion project. It started like that, and it went so well that we are not really interested now for raising money. It's just not that like hockey stick level, but it's enough good. And as a second-time founder, you are obsessed with distribution. You're obsessed with distribution. You kind of skip the product part, and then after a while you realize, oh, there's a product there that I need to distribute. So, and then I learned, okay, now we need to have product and distribution at the same time. And these are the things that
let's sum it up. So you had the Navaar experience, which was over in Iran, and you had the experience of actually going to 100 people, employing 100 people, having 2 million active users, having investors from Sweden. So that was the experience you came with to Canada. And I would assume the economic situation of Iran wasn't sustainable for the outlook you had. So you come here, you have Maktub, which is a similar service on audio, but very targeted to people of non-English speaking people who are looking for premium content. Tell me about Collaborative Vision Z. That's another company you're part of, or it's your company. Tell us what you do in that section.
Yes, it's a B2B service. We're providing software solution architect services and product management services. We're working with Canada Life, Home Depot, and very amazing companies. And this that was the learning curve. That was a learning curve. If I want to know what is the next mark on the sand for me, I need to know more. So let's go do this passion project, do a B2C startup, just realize how it's going on. And at the same time, go to the B2B services, try to just kind of create value enough that at the end of the day, you kind of find yourself how actually I can be most valuable to this society, to the new home that I have, that I want to live in. And that actually went pretty well in the COVID days. Like we had like 3 or 4 contracts. Now we're just saying, oh, we cannot keep up and not on board. It's actually really tough now it's an employer's market, but it's actually really tough talent to target good talents and land good talents now in the market. It's really tough.
Now, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're an entrepreneur. You want a story, you want a problem to tackle on, and you want to have that thrill. So it's all about that, both of them.
So to wrap it up, Ami, I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, I'm a firm believer that the essence of it doesn't change no matter where you go. You go to Africa, you go to India, Iran, Asia. It doesn't matter where you are. The essence of entrepreneurship is the same. Building a product, putting together a team, getting investor excited. All of it is more or less the same. The only thing that changes is the market. So when you came to Canada, all of a sudden you're facing a different market. Their culture is different. Their wants are different. Their needs are different. What was that like? How did you adapt to the new market? What was the learning curve? What did you learn there?
With a very bad mistake, like
Tell us.
worst mistake that it's just a very big mistake to think that if people talk in a language, their behavior of using content is going to be the same. That was the biggest mistake that you can do. They are living different. The languages that they are saying, it's not realize that their need for the content is not it's not frequent enough for them to adopt subscription business model. So we ended up with a single purchase business model that people can go and rent this content. So every now and then they want to be connected to that native language.
So if you go back, would you say market research would be more emphasis of yours if you go back 2 years or a year from now?
I would say customer development.
Customer development.
Really talk to customers, really to understand. That's the biases that you have as a second founder. You think you know, but you don't. And then when you go through that customer development, you realize that this is the need, this is the time frame that this is the time that actually they want to assign of their life to this product, and then you kind of adapt to that. But when we changed the single purchase model, actually, the business started to grow organically.
Amy, what keeps you up at night? Let's wrap it up.
It's personal. It's I am going through a midlife crisis. It's just to just really realize what is the next step, what is the most valuable thing that I can do. And I think it's okay to just talk about it, that you have this. So I'm trying to just get as much information as we can, but paying the salaries and trying to keep up with the growth, try to find create a network that actually can be valuable for the next steps of the company. All of that, they are there. Keeping the co-founders on board through tough times is actually really tough in these times. And these are the things, but the main thing is very personal to me, that what is the big next step and where can I actually be
very, very brave of you to share. Thank you for sharing that. And I can only imagine how, when you're a first time startup founder, it's challenging, but when you've done it once and you're trying to do it again in a new culture, a new environment, there is a lot of uncertainty around it. So keep on doing the good work. We have a great community here, and we are trying to help everyone in the community to be connected. This show was born for that, so your story can resonate with more people and get connected. Before ending it up and opening it to QA, what I really like about Ami's story is that this whole immigration story also resonates for people who are Canadian and want to go global. At some point, you're going to face the same thing. You're going to have Chinese customers. You're going to have, Asian, African, European customers. And you're going to face that, shift. And whether you are immigrating to this country or your company is immigrating to another company and expanding, it's really important to be adaptable and have a really good understanding of your customer. I'm going to open it up to QA, and everybody can jump in and ask questions.
I'll jump in first. Amy, thanks for sharing your story. Reza, thank you for your insightful questions as always. You're doing such a good job on that. I just wanted to dig down a little bit into two of the things that Reza touched on here. I mean, first of all, as far as community building, when you came to Toronto, how did you reach out to authentically build community? I know our good friend Reza did a little hack called 100 events in 100 days that then culminated with the launch party of OVU, which was amazing. So I'm just curious, Amy, how you managed to build connectivity and cultivate trust in a new culture and a new community that you, I'm assuming at the beginning, weren't deeply connected to.
Thank you, Colin, for asking that. And Reza's story is amazing. It's very amazing, right? That's I saw him commenting on Michelle Romanoff post on LinkedIn, and it was just, this story just got a little bit, like a lot of traction, just how amazing it is. For me, it started to do really try and error. It was like asking from the mentors and the founders that they went through the same. And I just reached out to them and said that this is my story. I'm not trying to make the next billion-dollar company. I'm just trying to create a good story. And they just told me that kind of craft your story to be understandable, which I'm trying to do still. But having that and going to the meetings, going to Tech2, going to meetups, going to pitch events and all that, and sharing that story, after a while, you will find people that they're interested to help you. And they did help. They did help a lot for me to find my initial team, to find my, we have one investor that he's an amazing person, and he's really helping us. So I would say really try to craft a story that people understand, that comes from within you, but is understandable to people. And at the end of the day, you will find people that they're interested in your story and they want to help on your mission. That is something, it's very cliche, it comes from the book, but when you actually do that, it really works.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's tremendous insight there. Maryam, I know we don't have any questions yet on chat, but is there anything you'd like to jump in and ask Amy?
Yeah. Amy, I really appreciate your honesty. That was really great conversation. Thanks, Reza. I'm just really curious with the immigrants, coming into this country. Usually, it's kind of hard to balance, the financial situation when you're in a new country. So, and still wanting to do what you desire and start, your startup, and going out there, it takes time, right? So did you at the beginning have to get, have maybe a 9-to-5 job to support yourself, and then while you're getting started, and how was that process to financially support yourself?
I personally was kind of lucky. I from the last company, so I had initial cash to burn and just to get there, and that's kind of entrepreneur mentality, that you want to jump from the opportunities that you have in life. Yeah. So I just did that, and these companies actually helped me now to sustain myself and thinking about that next big step that I want to do in life. But I can see a lot of other stories as well that they come amazing. I see single moms, single dads. They're doing this. They immigrate, they come here, and they do amazing. They work, they start a business. I don't know how. If you want to know time management, talk to them. Elon Musk, time management is good, but this is for Elon Musk, and it's really tough to be him. But just going through this story of a single mom coming to Canada, starting a business, caring about the family, caring about the kids, how that time management really works. It's really tough. I think you need to do that. And that's one of the biggest challenges, at least in Toronto. Toronto is an expensive city. It's hard to find co-founders, for example, that they can actually work 24/7 on a startup, because it's not, many times it's not possible.
Thank you. Actually, Brenda is asking similar thing I was going to ask you next, is that what's happening with, your previous company, Navaar. You said you had an exit, or what's happening with that company right now?
I replaced myself. After 150 employees, I was not a good fit as a founder CEO. So I hired the CEO, that he had a very good skill set, that he actually could manage the company. That's my story. Maybe it's different. Maybe some people have those skill sets or they can adapt. But my story was, I could see I'm hurting my company after that 150 employees. So I replaced myself with a very good CEO, and the company is going pretty well. I exited a little bit of my shares. I still have some shares in the company, and I'm a respected founder that they have my picture in board meetings. So that's it, but nothing more.
Thank you. I had no idea about this app. I will definitely download it.
Of course.
Great. I'm going to improve my Farsi that way. So which is great.
I see Maryam, you just put the link also in chat there. So that was great also. We'll put that on Facebook also. Yeah. Well, Amy, Reza and Maryam, thanks for that. That was, I learned a ton on that. Hopefully everybody joining us today did also and enjoyed that conversation. So Maryam, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you're going to have a chat with Mark, and we're going to learn all things Orca Box right now. So Maryam, take it away.
Thanks so much, Colin. Hi, Mark. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Maryam. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, co-entrepreneurs and hosts. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. And what an amazing day that, it happened that we're interviewing you on the same day that you receive your prototype. So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
It's exciting. How are you feeling about that?
You know what? We're feeling really good about it. So full disclosure, we posted it on Instagram just for today for you guys. We actually received it last week. So we had a chance to play around with it a little bit here. Yeah.
Can you
very excited to.
Can you share the photo or show us what the prototype looks like? And, I'm sure this journey of, from the ideation to creation has been a long journey. And we're really curious to learn, like, if you could tell us a little bit more about how did the idea come about and what was the whole process of, bringing this intangible thing and make it tangible?
Yeah, great question. So I will share my screen here in a moment, but tell you about the story then first. So Orca Box, it was a selfish endeavor. My co-founder Chris and I, we were out for a trail run one day, and he was telling me how he tried to find a rooftop cargo box, so those big plastic boxes that go on the roof of a car. He's like, I went shopping, I went to Canadian Tire, they're overpriced, they're cumbersome, they don't really mount well. There's just like a lot of problems. And they're still like $400 or $500. It's like, and if you get into like a Thule one or Yakima, some of the more premium brands in the space, it's, you can spend $1,000 or more easily. So he's like, it's a giant piece of plastic on top of your car. There's gotta be a better way to do this. So born of that need, trying to find more space for his family and for me traveling with friends, we looked to set out and find a new way to ultimately design and distribute a rooftop cargo box. So our original idea, well, it's a little bit different than where we landed right now. What we realized in trying to design a fully custom box, really suited to urban living was the plan, something that, you could easily slide under a bed or hide in the closet. That design process very quickly becomes expensive. And we're good at what we do. I'm a marketer, he's in sales. We're not very good at supply chain logistics, distribution. That was not our strong point. So we decided to kind of table our initial idea and really focus on more what we can do with what currently exists in the market. How can we source a product that's really going to fulfill a lot of the needs that we're looking to meet, and simultaneously then get it shipped, get it distributed, learn the ins and outs, and then come back to our original idea. So a lot of it was just kind of navigating that decision to move forward in that way. And then it came to sourcing, finding a manufacturer, and kind of the rest that goes along with that.
How much market research did you do for this project? And when did this idea come to you?
Yeah, so we've been working on it for about 2.5 years. And, it was one of those ideas that casually comes up in conversation. Entrepreneurs in the room, I know you have these conversations. It's like, oh yeah, that would be a good idea. Oh yeah, that would be a good idea too. Oh, maybe that one's a good idea. What keeps you up at night? Oh, that other idea.
That other idea, exactly. And you already had one, from like probably another brand or something that you were using?
We did. Yeah.
What was
and
not
it was,
working for that?
it was difficult to open and to close. It was difficult to mount on a vehicle. It wasn't very aerodynamic or sleek and attractive. It was, and referring specifically to Chris's box, it just wasn't ideal for what he wanted to use it for. And one of the key things that is big for both of us is the ability to put our skis into the box on top of our cars. So his just wasn't long enough for his skis either. So, it was, what it boiled down to was just being able to get outside and do the things that we love with the people that we love to do them with. And that box just didn't do it for him.
Yeah. And you wanted something to be that you could easily, you said, put it under your bed? Like, so it would be foldable? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I don't want to give away the big
Okay.
secret, but our original idea was a collapsible rooftop cargo
Collapsible. Yeah,
carrier.
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw this
So if
like.
any of you figure out how to execute that on the cheap, let us know.
Well, I was thinking there's this kayak that is, you know, the foldable. It's like an origami style kayak, which I can't remember the name of it, which I don't know, maybe that could be a source of inspiration. But let's see your box. I'm just really curious about
Yeah.
what this
Okay. All right. Sharing the
looks
screen.
like.
I'm in the kayak. Super cool idea. We actually
Have
spoke
you
with,
seen it?
well,
Have you
tried to
seen the
speak
one?
with the co-founder.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been trying to
Um,
find it.
and I just find my deck here. Okay, so this is all new for us, actually importing a product from another country. So for our prototype, we did get it manufactured in China. We used one of the designs that they were already producing, just as our first foray into really understanding how to make this happen. So on the left there is the stack of paperwork. Doesn't look that big, but you know, there's some pages there. Our plan was to go and pick it up directly from the boat. Little did we know that it needs to go to a warehouse first to get unpacked from a shipping container when you do a one-off. So this is us picking it up. Our prototype came in a wooden crate. Wooden crate wouldn't fit in the car. I dismantled the wooden crate and jammed it on in, tied it down. And ultimately, here we have the Orca Box, our very first
Oh,
prototype.
amazing.
So we kept it in the wrap there before we do our big photo shoot with it. But keep an eye on our website. We're going to start accepting pre-orders here soon. Yeah. So
Oh yeah, I saw that
Orca
on your
Box.
website. It's happening right now, right? You're accepting pre-orders.
Very soon. Yeah.
Very soon. Okay. And how much are you pricing it at?
We are pricing it at around, you know what? Pricing is another thing that has come up and it's fluctuated. As COVID hit, as we all know, it impacted everyone's business. In the cargo rooftop space, with more people traveling locally, it has dramatically increased demand, which has brought new products to market.
Yeah.
So when we look at the space, when we look at the space, there's some big players that currently exist. They introduced shifted some of their product lines to appeal to a bit more of a lower price point. So we're kind of at the crossroads now of how premium do we make ours to align with the premium options on the market, and how much can we make it, how many of those premium options can we actually compete with these embedded players on? So ultimately, we're looking at positioning us at around $7.99 or $8.99, including or excluding shipping. The distribution is another piece where we see an opportunity. Whereas our competitors are at a similar price, at a similar price for similar products.
Well, I want to know, how many iterations did you do prior to, like, you know, coming up with this prototype, your first prototype?
Yeah, good question. So we worked with industrial designers right from the beginning when we were still working on the idea of a collapsible version. So we started out by working, we just wanted to play around with the idea. So we reached out to one of our friends. His cousin, as it turns out, was taking an industrial design program. So we're like, oh, you know what? Sure, we'll pay you a couple $100 to come up with some designs for us. So that's where it started. And from that point then, we've spoken with some of the best industrial design firms from around the world. We've got the proposals, we've gone back and forth. So I would say in terms of the iteration process, from that core idea, we've probably seen, 20 or 30 different versions of what a collapsible rooftop box could be. And there are many collapsible products already in the market. Like you said, the kayak or suitcases or inflatable paddle boards. Can we do this in an inflatable way? So much like what Amy was saying, when you start to tell people your story, people gravitate and connect to it, even if it's not that well articulated. We're like, we have this idea, I don't know, collapsible rooftop thing. They're like, oh, you could do this, or you could do that, or have you thought about this, or maybe you could get it built here. So really, it's been in constant iteration, which is exciting, but also then landing on a place where we're like, okay, let's make a decision and let's move forward has been a real challenge too.
Yeah, so your journey started obviously with an idea, and then you you said there was an industrial student that you got to do the first iterations and rendering of this product, right?
Yeah.
And then because, you know, we have like really amazing companies such as like Misty West in town, you know, if I don't know if you're familiar with them, or Orca Studio, that they know everything from, you know, doing the initial the 3D modeling and everything to manufacturing, which just makes it really easy. So I'm wondering, for bringing products to life, did you wanted to hire your own employees, or you wanted to, like, you work with companies such as, like, I don't know exactly who you work with, but you said international companies. Did you feel like it's easier to have your own employees at a time to contract out, or just, you know, work with a company that has experience in manufacturing from like ideation to you know, the creation, and have connection in, like, for example, as you're saying, you got it from China, right? You got it manufactured in China and sent to here. What was that? How did you decide, I don't, which route to take and what would be easier?
Yeah, great question. You know, we relied on people that know more than we know, and we acknowledged that early on. From the beginning, when we had this idea, we didn't think it was something that, you know, say to hire an employee or to hire say an industrial designer that would then maybe work with. There's a lot of complexity when it comes down to it. You need the design, you need the engineers to actually say, oh, well, this is how it needs to fit together to make it work. And then you need to design for manufacturing, DFM. So, okay, the designer has had their take at it, the engineers have had their take at it. Now, can we actually like source parts to make this happen, or do we need to do completely custom everything? That probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So we reached out to a few people that we trust in the industrial design space, and asked them for their recommendations for companies that could help us kind of take it from design to DFM, design for manufacturing. And we went down that path, and we went down that path for almost a year and a half. But ultimately, it was looking like it was going to be about $250,000 just to get us to a place where we were designing one. That would take us to one. Of course, replicating that doesn't cost so much more, but to get the molds created, to source the parts, to actually get the designs done, we're looking at a pretty big financial investment. And well, product based like this, it's not necessarily well suited to, say, investment capital. It's not a lean SaaS startup. We're not going to have immediate customers. We're going to actually have to spend that cash before we realize revenue. So that kind of took us down this path instead, of ultimately sourcing something that was close to work. Sorry?
How did you fund this project?
Yeah, so out of our own pockets so far. And you know, so it's, I think another, you know, one of those entrepreneurial challenges is towing that line between investing your own funds into something that you think is going to be great, and then actually acting on that opportunity too. And so for us, we both worked full-time jobs, kind of leading up to Orkabox. I run a digital marketing agency as my day job, and really just kind of invest the revenue into entrepreneurial endeavors like Orkabox. And, you know, it's just kind of I would say, fortunate that we're both in a place where we have the flexibility to do that in our, what I would say is our breadwinning careers right now. But ultimately, as we see this true to fruition, we're investing more time and more energy into it. We hired an intern to help us out over the summer. Ultimately, with sourcing, she worked for BMW in China. She moved here to do her MBA at UBC. She was amazing at really kind of, you know, aligning the culture of the manufacturers and how they operate with ultimately what we wanted to build and what we wanted to accomplish with our brand. So it was, we're finding ways to do both, to balance both those worlds. And I think we're doing it in a way that it seems to be working for us.
Seems to be working. And your background, so we have another minute to wrap it up. So with your background in marketing, I just want to get a better understanding of what is going to be the marketing campaign, or how are you going to market this project and build the community and your tribe around it?
Yeah, really great question. We think it all comes down to what it's intended for. It is to get outside. It's to have these grand adventures, and we want to own that world, that space. Really, just kind of enabling people to enjoy their lives with the people that they care about. And we think that's going to be a draw. That's going to be the connecting piece. That's what's going to bring people together. Also, we're going to give children free whales with every Orca box. So we think that'll be a big draw too.
Amazing, amazing. But my brain is like firing up all these ideas right now, but I'll send them to you. Thank you so much. I'm just going to open it up to our audience and our guests and see if anyone has any questions. Colin, Reza, anyone?
Maryam, Mark, thanks for that. Only want to take a minute or two because obviously I want to give Casey enough time here in our conversation at the back end here of the show. But Mark, I've known you for a little while now. Both of us teach at Global Startup School in Vancouver here, so we've crossed paths there. You with what you do at Railtown Media. I'm very interested just to hear just the kind of the courage, that leap of faith that you took, since what you're doing now is a pure hardware play, and hardware, as they say, is hard in product. It's not easy to do. So what gave you the courage as far as, let's say, market validation to know that you're onto something rather than just something you wanted for yourself, since your background really is, from what I can sense, more in that kind of that marketing arena rather than bringing product to market. So how did you get the courage to go, we're going for this?
Yeah, really great question. Sorry, Maryam, you alluded to this as well. I didn't really circle back to it, but before we did anything, we had this idea. We're like, you know what? We think this is a real idea. We sent out a survey to 100 people. So it started with friends and family, of course. But as we all know, that biases the results, or it doesn't. They're maybe more harsh than the real world would be, at least in my case. So we actually, through that, we did get over 100 survey respondents in about a 1 month period. And through that, we asked people specifically about their experiences with their current rooftop cargo carriers, or if they were planning to purchase one, why hadn't they purchased one yet? And a lot of that validated some of the underlying assumptions that we had and kind of gave us the confidence to go down the path that we've gone down.
I love that you actually had that bravery to put that out there and ask the question to people that weren't just your good friends, because that's always that safety place, right? That warm, comfortable place, because you're creating this baby. You don't want anybody to tell you that your baby's ugly, right? And find that out. But sometimes, as we'll talk with Casey here in a minute, he's seen lots of ugly babies presented to him over in Asia and beyond here. So you did the thing that you need to do, just put it out there and see if there actually is a market for all the assumptions that you've made. So super exciting of what's going to come down the pipe for you is now your prototype. You've got it in your garage there. So we're really looking forward to hearing that next step that Orkabox takes along your journey there. So we don't have any questions in chat. Reza, we just hold off here because once again, I do want to jump on here with Casey. So if you have any questions at the end of the show, either for Mark or for Casey, for our hosts or even our other guests or even our audience here, please jump in with that. So with that, once again, Maryam, Mark, thanks so much for that conversation. Learned a ton again, and appreciate that. And now I'm going to have a conversation with Casey Lau, who I got connected with. Casey, gosh, it wasn't that long ago, probably a couple of weeks ago, that someone made an introduction to me. And Casey is back to Vancouver. I guess you didn't say the prodigal son. He grew up here. It's been away, I believe. I don't want to age you here, Casey. I think you mentioned over coffee, over 20 years that you've been bouncing around the world, specifically in Asia and Hong Kong, and the good things you're going to talk about what you've been doing there. But you have come back and you're now involved with Founder Institute. We will touch on that a little bit, but I really want to hear about your journey and all the things that you've done with Rise Conference. So Casey, welcome to the show, and tell us about what Rise Conference is. And I know it's going to be happening virtually in the springtime. So yeah, tell us what's going on, Casey, with you and your world in Rise.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Colin. Really appreciate you inviting me onto the show. And everybody, it's very interesting to see that I've been in the last 10 years, I've been doing a community group just like this called Startup Hong Kong. And meanwhile, over here in Vancouver, Colin's been doing Startup Vancouver. And as you mentioned, there's chapters all over Canada. It's quite interesting to see that community building around the startup ecosystems all over the world. I spend most of my time in Hong Kong, but I'm also traveling to Singapore, Tokyo, Taipei, and I see the same kind of things built everywhere. So it's very exciting to see when I drop into new cities, there's always a Colin, Weston there organizing this, usually live, right, with beer and pizza and things like that. But just kind of connecting people. And that's really what I gravitate towards all this time. And as I was doing that in Hong Kong, this guy named Paddy Cosgrave, who founded the Web Summit out in Europe, which is the biggest tech conference in probably the world right now. He came out and we met, and he said he was going to do a conference called Rise for Asia, and he was going to base it in Hong Kong. And then so we hit it off, and basically he invited me to be the co-host for that event. And so it's part of the Web Summit family, Rise, and then also probably people in here in Vancouver will know Collision, which is our North American conference, which takes place now in Toronto, which was done online this year, of course, but last year it was the first year, and I thought it was amazing. It was very, very proud for me to be Canadian after being out in Asia for so long and seeing all these like mainland Chinese companies just being massive, but also coming back to Canada and seeing how exciting it is here with all the companies in downtown Toronto. I was very, very impressed. And so that's why, because Rise was postponed this year, I thought I'd come back over and help with Collision. That was supposed to be in June, but of course that turned out to be an online event, right? So now we're doing Web Summit in December. That will be in early December and also be online. So it looks like the next grouping of conferences will still be online. Next year we just announced Rise 2021 will be online in March. It takes us almost a year to prepare these conferences, so we can't really just hopefully there's a vaccine that shows up in January so we can just like turn the crank and do a live event. So for that, we'll be definitely still online. But it's all about connecting people, and it's about having these kind of shows that people in Canada can meet people in Asia and vice versa, and Europe and things like that.
Love it. And I meant to ask Emmy this question earlier, just through his global lens of seeing entrepreneurship and startup culture, especially in Iran. But I want to ask you this, since you have such a world view, Casey, what do you see things that in Asia that they're doing that we need to do more of here in the innovation ecosystem here in not only Vancouver, but also across Canada?
The one thing I think is I've noticed the number one thing is people in Canada are not very, they don't like to show off. That's the number one thing I've noticed. A lot of the amazing, since I've been back in Vancouver, I've met so many amazing companies I've never heard of before. And they've all been funded very well. And it's quite interesting. Like in the States and in Asia, if you raise $10, there's a press release out and you're on the front page of some newspaper, right? So I'm not sure if that's the media's lack of interest in technology here in Canada. But I've been reading like Tech Vibes, and I'm even blogging with Techcouver to kind of keep up to date. So I see a lot of stuff there, but it's very insular, I think. So this is one of the biggest things I feel like Collision really added to Canadian landscape is, first of all, people didn't know there was a Canadian basketball team until they came to Collision last year when the Raptors were in the finals. That was amazing, by the way. And then just seeing a lot of the companies that were there, like even the corporate sponsors, they're like, I didn't know this was a Canadian company. And I'm Canadian, I didn't even know. So I feel like that kind of spotlight is very important for the economy here, especially for the startup economy, for people looking out. And, it's like Ami was saying, it's like, he comes out here. I don't know, what was the allure, but I think that if 500px or Shopify and these kind of big companies are doing cool things out here, that people start to gravitate toward this ecosystem. And I think that these kind of companies need to make a lot more noise in that regard.
I agree. I know with the work that we do with Startup Canada, we've done it 3 years now with our Canadian Export Challenge. And the motivation for creating that was, as you touched on there, Casey, the fact that us Canadians, we're a little bit humble sometimes. And I spend a lot of time in the States with what I do in the sport innovation space. And they are loud. They're putting stuff out there. They got the swagger where we're kind of like, are we good enough? Is it imposter syndrome? And I spend time down there. It's like, you know what, heck no, we've got this. We know what we're talking about. We've got value to offer. And through Canadian Export Challenge, we just impress upon the entrepreneurs that 99.5% of the world's population is not in Canada. There's 190 something countries that are not Canada. Let's help you get out there. And it sounds like you now are even more so that you're spending time here. And once the COVID things hopefully lighten up over the next year or so, you'll be bouncing around the world again, that you'll be able to connect our Vancouver and Canadian entrepreneurs and opportunities and kind of bridge that with what's going on, especially in Asia.
Exactly. I was learning a lot more about the Startup Visa program here, which I'm very impressed by, and a lot of these subsidies and grants that are offered to startups here. Even with Founder Institute, we're doing a cooperation deal with Futurepreneur. Amazingly, how money is being loaned out to startups to start their own business. So I feel like it almost feels like there's even more incentive to do a startup here in Canada than there was even in Hong Kong, which I'm surprised at, right? There's a lot of people think of Hong Kong and think, oh, there's a lot of rich people there. There must be a lot of angel investors, but actually no, they're really, risk adverse, and they really like to invest in, stocks and property and things that they can flip very easily, right? Startups have not had a super huge success in Hong Kong alone without, expanding to the US or expanding into China, right? So these are the ones that people are looking for. But of course, in the last year and a half, we've seen a dozen unicorns born out of Hong Kong. So, but those deals are not necessarily, you go to some rich property developer, they don't understand what you're doing in fintech or biotech, right? That's not their line of business, right? But like a Sequoia China, they see this all the time. They know exactly what it is, and they know they can connect the dots very easily, and up they go. Okay, I can talk about all this for a long time, but yeah, you just focus these questions for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to touch on this because with Founder Institute, that a lot of entrepreneurs in Vancouver and also across Canada here don't know who FI or Founder Institute is. And I know you just recently joined as one of the Western leadership. So I'm going to put you on the spot here to do a little bit of an elevator pitch for what FI does and why you do it.
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting, FI, where it sits in the ecosystem, right? So with Rise and Web Summit, I think it's more like for mature startups who are raising millions of dollars or looking for partnerships with huge corporations. But those companies, we still need to bring in the new entrepreneurs. So Founders Institute really sits as like a boot camp for people with just an idea, right? It's not it's a pre-accelerator, right? So Techstars in Toronto does a great job of taking those companies that have traction and move it to the next level. Founder Institute, and the one that I'm involved with takes care of Western Canada. So I think it's from Manitoba across. So we invite all the different companies or entrepreneurs that just have an idea. A lot of people in the cohort right now just have an idea, and basically they're able to test that theory to see if it works with an amazing group of mentors that we have here in Vancouver and Calgary. So I'm learning a lot about how amazing some of these new entrepreneurs are, as well as the mentor resource. Like everybody wants to help. So even though I just said, Canada doesn't really tell everybody what they're doing, they are doing something though, right? They are. There's these programs go out there. There's mentors willing to devote their time and resources to helping new entrepreneurs out. There's government funding. Things like that is really where it has to go. And I feel like that kind of solidarity in building entrepreneurs is very good. So we have a cohort right now, and then we'll do the spring a cohort in March. So if anybody's interested is listening to this, you can go to fi.co and you can apply there or put your name down for when the cohort opens up. But I've seen some amazing teams coming out of this and ideas. And they're not all, and the other thing is they're mostly like new people, new immigrants coming to Canada, which I think is amazing to see, right? These people are bringing in their ideas because they can't get into America or whatever the situation is in the States, they can come to Canada, and there's a lot more opportunity here. And I think that is where we are going to be, being able to grow in the next few years here.
Nice. Well, you nailed the FI elevator pitch, so you get an A+ for that.
Thank you.
You just graduated. Well done. I see Reza, as usual, is a couple of steps ahead of us, that he has put the FI Vancouver link and also the Toronto page on there for any entrepreneurs out there that are interested to find out more, or perhaps sign up to hopefully be part of one of your next cohorts starting up in the spring. So with that, we only have a couple minutes left here, so I do want to open it up here, both to my two co-hosts and even for Emmy and Mark here. If anybody here has any questions. Oh, I do see there's a question in chat.
I have
Maryam,
a question.
Maybe,
go ahead, Maryam.
Yeah, maybe you can read that, Maryam, for us, one on chat.
Okay, for sure. Yes. So this is a question, Casey, for you. I'm at a point with my startup where I require funding to develop my product. I'm leaning towards accessing convertible debt so as not to lose too much equity. So here's the questions. For a founder in my position, do you think it is wiser to enter a program like what is offered by Founder Institute, or rather than accessing debt capital through my network?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what your idea is, but I would almost 80% of the time say I would enter into some sort of a program first, because I feel like the FI program, what I'm seeing, I've talked mentoring 5 different teams right now, and they all will require funding for sure to go to the next level. But I think right now, the proof of concept stage is the most important part to make sure that it's like, going well. Like the Orca Box, Mark's thing, I think like he has the funding and he has a day job and he's kind of in that area, right? So digital marketing will help him to grow that business. So he's already in that thing. But if he was in construction, maybe he would need to, get some feedback on it from the market. So if you don't know how to do that part yourself, then I would suggest a program like a Founders Institute, or there's other ones as well. But I feel like that, for me personally, I mean, I'd love to hear from Mark and from Ami as well. Like, what do you guys think about programs to help entrepreneurs at an early stage? That, because raising debt capital, I don't know, that doesn't sound like that sounds a bit risky unless it's like you got the thing.
I can help on that. Like for Navaar, we actually graduated from an Accelerator. Avatech, the model was like a Founder Institute actually. And what we found at the end, it was that there's a lot that we don't know. So that it's not a good idea. So it's better to know about your business model, about the market response, about how, like what is a good investor is, actually, what is a smart money is. These are the things that many times you don't know, and that is not a good idea unless that you're a serial entrepreneur. You already have this huge, massive network that you want to leverage, and you have these pre-orders. Maybe it makes sense then. But if you're a startup, it's just not a good idea. This is my personal view. To have
I think I would echo that and say, debt financing. Probably for me, I get the red flags. I'm like, no, I'm going to stay away unless, like you say, you have something is already ordered. You just need the debt to kind of tide you over. But a lot of positive things have come out of those incubators and accelerators. I think that's a good place to start. For example, we've been in touch with the Okanagan Summit Accelerator, and they actually work on both sides, like I think most accelerators do, where they're speaking with both potential investors as well as entrepreneurs and kind of bridging the gap between those two worlds. If someone else has money to spend and invest, and they're looking for a very serious return, and I'm in a place where I'd rather have that and give up some equity, I think that's a really great place to explore in terms of financing.
I also don't know where you're at exactly, but one of the things I do as an innovation consultant is that I run experiments with businesses that actually the experiments make them money. So it creates a new, they have a certain business model, right? But I just find a new market segment or demographic for them and say, okay, let's design this experiment or simulation and actually, put a price point to it. And last year there was like one of the experiments just made around 80 to 100K, just like that. I don't know how much money that you need, but there are a lot of existing tools that you can utilize without actually building your own, that you can generate revenue. A lot of times we think that we need to hire a developer, we need to hire a designer, but there's tons of existing tools that we can take advantage of and run that similar simulation, and to get people to behave, see if they're gonna actually do the behavior that we want them to do. Because at the end of it, you're creating a tool or you're creating a product that you want to see, are people going to respond in the way that you assumed? And if not, that way it's easy because you didn't actually spend so much money in building this thing. You just use existing tools. So that's another way of maybe.
I have a comment on that too. So with Ovu Day One, I wanted to do a freemium platform, and I wanted the card to be just optional. And I got advised on how expensive that is because I've never done a freemium model, and freemium is very expensive because you get a bunch of free users and it's very hard to get to the paid user. So I turned it into an e-commerce platform because that's the way I can bootstrap it. That's the way my customers are funding my journey. And that's the absolute best scenario, I think, when you can get your customers to fund you until you get to the next level and you can expand.
Yeah, I agree. That's the best way. It's all about like building that tribe, and they believe in what you're doing, so they'd be willing to pay for it.
I want to also just quickly plug in another way, if you don't, because Founders Institute it's going to be like a 3-month program. So Web Summit coming up, plug Web Summit again, but we do a lot of like speed investor meetings. So you can actually apply as a startup. You have a pitch deck, and you can meet investors, and you can pitch this idea every hour for 3 days to get as much feedback on it as possible before you consider that Do you want to go into an accelerator for it? Do you think maybe, oh, these people might even invest in it, right? I think there's a lot of opportunities now, especially in this world of online conferences and so many ways to meet investors, that there's no way that, I think the risk is really lowered nowadays, based off, even crowdfunding and just being able to meet people and giving you their ideas about your idea itself, right? I think that, and also there's a lot of people looking for deals. So if you, whatever vertical you're in, if you get into that right area and meet the investors that are in that vertical, I think it's much easier to network and meet the right people. And they'll tell you like right away, like, oh, there's 20 other people doing this. You're going to be not, it's going to be tough for you, or this is a great idea. I have like 3 customers ready to sign up with you if that could be a thing. So I think that's quite
So
interesting.
Casey, you had me as soon as you said in Web Summit, you do 3 days of pitching. I was like, I have to sign up. So I'm on the website. Is it the €249 startup ticket that gets you that, or you
Correct.
have to get okay, that would get you that.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's going to be tough for us though. I mean, for sure, because of the time zone. You're going to be, but hey, when you have time, you get jet lag when you go to Portugal anyway. So this is the kind of thing you're going to stay up all night pitching. And I think like you don't have to pay for a hotel or an airplane ticket. I think you can stay up late to figure that out.
Yeah.
But I have a question. I just wanted to throw this at Mark, because this is the number one thing I get a lot from the Vancouver founders that are joining Founder Institute. They're juggling a day job as well. How do you, or what is your recommendation, your advice to startups that are trying to do a startup at the same time as they have a day job that's very demanding, that may not be anything to do with their startup? I find that is the mental focus that a lot of startups are looking for. And it seems like you were able to figure this part out. Is it a co-founder? Is it because you're so passionate about this? Like, what are some of the tips that you would give to a new founder that's juggling a day job and an idea?
Yeah, really great question, Casey. I think in my own experience then, building relationships with a strong network of co-founders, team members, and support people. Even to say, okay, I've got to get away from work for a minute. I'm gonna hit up that friend. Let's go grab lunch or a virtual coffee, just to kind of maintain my sanity and step away at times. So building that into my schedule to do that, and finding the right people to do it with. In a more practical sense, Thursdays are my meeting days, and so Thursdays I dedicate to any sort of entrepreneurial side projects. I don't do much work for Railtown on Thursdays. I set that time aside to say, nope, that's my day. So I think just kind of maintaining a schedule that enables you to play in both worlds, and recognizing, going down that path is going to take a little bit more time, commitment, and energy, but also finding that balance is still going to be key. And I've done it to myself, and I'm sure we all have. You get to that point where you've done too much, you've taken on too much, and you burn out. You need to go down for a couple of days, take that time off away. So I found the balance, and maintaining that balance has been pretty important. So people taking the time and kind of dedicating or scheduling time to work on those entrepreneurial ideas.
Nice. So, wow. So we're actually 8 minutes over here, but that doesn't matter, because the fact this conversation has actually been so energetic and so robust that I can keep going on probably for another hour, but to be respectful of everybody's time here, including our attendees, let's leave it at that today. I think the biggest takeaway for me is all 3 of you reinforcing this little simple thing known as get some customers and get them to pay for what you're doing. Everybody gets caught up with this romantic kind of notion of seeing what goes on Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, and it's all about the deals on being done, which mostly is bogus anyway, and it's all theater. It may not be sexy, it's a lot of work, and you got to grind it away, but go find some customers and people that love what you're doing and the value that you're adding and are willing to pay you some money on a regular basis. What a concept. Yeah. So with that, just to wrap up, I want to thank everyone, but Maryam, could you finish up here and end our show for us today?
For sure. Thank you so much, Colin. What an amazing conversation. I just want to keep talking to you guys. Mark and I have been like brainstorming on the chat for a while now, which has been fun. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Mark, Casey, Amy, for being here. And of course, my co-host, Reza and Colin, join us for another amazing, inspiring conversation next Tuesday at 12, and bring your questions for our post your questions on LinkedIn ahead of time, so we get to ask our obviously amazing speakers. And you can find us, of course, this is going to be posted on our YouTube channel, at Startup Vancouver. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Bye. Have a great week.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.